Hey there, Drawyah here, and welcome to this tutorial where I shall be showing you how to set up a descent and landing in the all-new Aerosoft CRJ-550 and 700. And so this process is relatively straightforward in regards to setting up, but does have a lot of hands-on flying that gets involved later on. And so it's highly recommended you have a SimBrief flight plan set up, which you can use to follow along with. If not, then follow either my startup tutorial or my SimBrief tutorial, where you can look at how to set one of those up. And so without any further delay, we'll jump into the cockpit and set the aircraft up. At this stage, we're around 120 miles from the airport, which is about the right time for you to set up your approach, as well as be prepared for top of descent. So what you're going to do, first of all, is set up your STAR, your Standard Terminal Approach Routing. This is a predefined set of waypoints that will be given to you by Tower, and this will be either on your flight plan or given to you directly from Tower over radio comms, and it's a predefined set of waypoints similar to a SID that guides your aircraft to the airports while avoiding other traffic and potentially has in the area such as no fly zones, cities, mountains, that kind of stuff. So what you're going to do is head down to your FMS, and head over to your departure and arrival index. Head back if you need to your index and head over to the arrivals, and check your flight plan, in this case landing runway 27 via a Fairhead 3 Papa arrival. So we will look for a ILS 27 if that's available. Next page you can see it's there as a Zulu marker. If you have an ILS available, other methods do apply, so RNAVs and VORDMEs for example, but as you have an ILS available, we'll be using that, and in particular we'll be using the Zulu arrival. Our start will be the Fairhead 3 Papa, so we'll be selecting that. As you see, more waypoints have appeared on your ND. Execute it if you're happy, and head back to your flight plan page, to your legs page. If you look at the next page, you'll now see a discontinuity, and so what you're going to want to do is remove that. Select the first waypoint after discontinuity, in this case Fairhead. You can either input it straight into discontinuity if there's no match, but because Fairhead matches with Fairhead, what you want to do is replace the Fairhead waypoints. You see another discontinuity appeared. This will be for the arrival, so head back to the legs page, make sure to go to the next waypoint. You can see Delta Whiskey 555. Select it, return. As there's no match, you'll then fill it into the blank, execute it. You can now see your flight plan to continued and descent has also been predefined. If we look at our ND, you can now see a TOD marker has appeared. That means your top of descent. So if we zoom in to the map there, using this little dial in the middle, our top of descent marker is around 30 miles or so in front of us, which is perfect time, means we can set up the rest of our approach in that time. What we're going to do is now head over to the aircraft tablets and head over to the performance page. Now, we already set up the takeoff when we were at Munich. What we're now going to do is set our landing speeds. So all you need to do is click on the Set All button, and this will update your aircraft's speed bugs to your approach and landing speeds. Head back to the FMS. What you want to do is head over to your direct intersection points, and on this page you can also see the rate of descent that the aircraft recommends you fly. So at the moment, flying at level, from Norta you descend at 800 feet per minute down to Delta Lima Echo, or you descend 1,400 feet per minute to Niet, and it's 1,500, 1,500, 1,700 to Bravo Mike November. At that point we'll be at 4,200 feet. We level off at the vector point. If we need to remove it, we can also head over to that waypoint on the next page, delete it, select it and it clears it, execute when you're happy. So it should now give us some more continuous descents. The 2,000 feet per minute descent, 2,000 feet per minute descent, that's the runway. And so you can use the direct 2 points page just to check your rate of descent when you set this up manually on the aircrafts. Back to the left hand side, we're now going to set up ourselves a decision height for the arrival into the airport. And so you can either set a DH, a decision height, or an MDA, a minimum descent altitude. And so as we were planning to land manually on this occasion, we'll be using an MDA, and you can use the larger scroll wheel on top. Click on it to set it. You can see MDA has now appeared. and then you can change that depending on the altitude of your descent. In this case, we'll have our decision heights around 740 feet. Decision heights, by the way, you can find on your charts. So set up to 740, that looks good. So our approach is now set up. Our routing's been set on the FMS, our decision height's been set, our speed ticks have been set. All we're now waiting for is the aircraft to reach the top ascent marker in approximately, well, 10 seconds. So as we hit the naught point, we're going to start our descent of around 1,200 feet per minute towards the near points. You can see there's a bit of a discontinuity there in regards to our descent. Actually, we need to be at 296 via Delta Lima Echo. So what we probably can do is fly direct to the near points, direct to near, execute that, let everything calculate, and now you can see 1,000 feet per minute by 20,000 feet at that point. So we'll set the altitude initially to 10,000 for the beginning of our climb. And then select the vertical speed option. And by default, that will set to 0. So we'll let the aircraft fly level. As you can see, by changing the waypoint, our top ascent marker has been moved slightly. Depending on your approach, depending on how it's all set up, you may find your descent marker to be in a slightly different position. And so what we'll do is we'll fly towards our new top ascent marker and then start our descent. As our aircraft crosses the top ascent marker, once again, double check your recommended rate of descent, in this case 2,100 feet per minute, to the near points, and using the vertical speed scroll wheel, change the VS from 0.0 to the recommended descent rate. So in this case it will be 2.1 for 2,100 feet per minute. The aircraft will now start its descent, leaving cruising altitude of 300, and one thing you will notice is the aircraft starts to speed up. As the CRJ does not come with auto throttle, what you want to do is manually adjust this for your descent. Like I say, it's a very easy aircraft to set up. It's very hands-on in regards to its throttle inputs. And so without any auto throttle, you need to slowly adjust the levers. The aircraft's maybe lose a bit of speed, but so it doesn't gain any as you reach lower altitudes. I find around 70 to 60 N1 is a very good number to sit around when you do reach your descents. Based on the FMS data, as you can see, it's now down to 2,300 feet per minute. Make small adjustments, small tweaks, ensure they don't miss your descents. Now the aircraft stay on course as it continues lower to its destination. As we descend, you would also want to make sure that your ILS runway frequencies are set in the autopilot. To set your runway ILS frequency, what you want to do is head over to the radio panel on the lower pedestal. Using charts or websites like Flight Plan Database, you can find these frequencies and courses quite easily. And so for the runway 27 at Bremen, it's 110.9 for the frequency. Selects the recall switch, tune your frequency 110.9, and then press the button on the right to switch to frequencies. With that done, you're now free to continue the rest of your descents. Again, make sure that your descent rate is within the aircraft's limits. In this case, now recommending 1,800 feet per minute. Change the vertical roll to 1.8. And you can see that the localizer will be tuned. The FMS will tell you if your localizer will be missed, if your frequency is incorrect, or any other issues around that as well. But as long as it says the aircraft will be tuned, again, look at your speed, you'll be rest assured that the aircraft will correctly maintain its descent and approach to runway. As your aircraft slowly approaches 10,000 feet, which is the altitude set on the autopilot, what you want to do is head back to your FMS and just double check what the intercept altitude is for the glide slope. So, Bravo Mike November 54, last waypoint for the runway is at 1,200, and so what we're going to do is set the altitude to that intercept of 1,200. That set, we'll make sure that the vertical speed is still active and follow the continue vertical speed of 2,600 down to 2,400 down to 2,200, so you can see slowly it gets shallower as you reach further bits of descent. So continue a rate of 2.2. It's about to cross 10,000 now, so we are going to activate the landing lights. And at this point, we may as well set the local altimeter of 1022. You can get local altimeter off of the local meter information. In this case, I'm using all METSAT for mine. However, other sources do apply, and for example, on ATC networks, you can also use the dedicated meter frequencies through that. So we will turn it off. The standard altimeter, it's now flashing. Well, that's to local 1022. And that will adjust the altitude based on the local air pressure at the airport we're flying into. Make sure that your speed stays below 50 knots. If you need to use a speed brake, you can do for assistance. Likewise, feel free to use flaps to also help with the slowdown as well as generate more lift for the aircraft on later stages of approach. So set the aircraft into flap position 1. Shortly we'll probably go down to flap position 8. Have a master caution for ice. Make sure that your anti-ice is activated where required. Go. Ice detection now turned off. Zoom in on ND to keep your route in range. And when required, activates the approach phase. But as we now have the ILS frequency sets, the aircraft should now tune the runway ILS frequency. What you can do is change the nav source from FMS over to Localiser. And as you can see, the course set's 265, which is the local runway heading. Your descents. Again, slowly maintain speed, maintain descents, and make sure you're not flying either too low or into any other hazards that may be caused flying too slow. see, we are now pretty much bang on the glide slope there. Ground glide slope marker has been set. Localiser 1 is still flashing. That will slowly connect up to the runway, and that will show you in distance, in miles, on the primary flight display on the left. As you descend, again, slightly check your speed, that you're maintaining a steady rate. If tower gives you speed, of course, follow tower speed. If not, then do what you know. The more you fly the aeroplane, the better you'll eventually get. Don't be too scared to push things a little, especially in the early days, as you learn how the aircraft flies. As we slowly descend through the cloud base, we'll now activate the next set of flaps. Again, adjusting throttle where required. Sights, not really established on the runway super in terms of our heading, but we are on a level course. Should be able to stick this without too many problems at all. Around 7 miles, you'll then want to load landing gear. Go to the heading now. Aircraft now captures the localizer. Localizer is no longer flashing. Aircraft has captured the glide slope. Glide slope is no longer flashing. As you can see, the magenta indicator there for the altitude has now appeared on screen. 5 miles, gear down. That's into position 20. And also drop it down to position 2030. Your throttle for your VF approach speed, which in this case is 134 knots. A little bit on the high side, but not too bad. Laps 40. 5. Landing gear, green, flap set for landing. Aircraft will descend below designated altitude as that is now falling down the glide slope. At 1000 we will shut off the autopilot and hand fly the rest of the way in. A little bit below the VREF suit of the approach, so more throttle in. You have gone a little bit below the glide slope too. As we increase throttle, we are still on autopilot, so you can see the aircraft is adjusting the altitude for us. And again, don't be too scared that the aircraft corrects things for you. One thing that new pilots for the CRJ and Microsoft Flight Sim will see is that the aircraft will either be too high, too slow, or all over the place. One thing that I personally learned the hard way with aircrafts, right off, is don't be too scared to let the aircraft correct you. As at the end of the day, autopilot's there to help you, it's there to guide you, not to, well, end you. At this point, you are now hand flying the aeroplane. Small corrections ourselves to the glide slope. As long as we're aiming for the touchdown marker, that's for us to be a safe landing. A bit turbulent, definitely a bit bumpy, I will admit.
200. 100.
Sync rate.
50. 40. 30. 20.
Low throttles. Generally, the aircraft descend on its own. As soon as the gears touch down, activate reverse thrust. Hold the nose gear down. Release the reversers, release the brakes when you've slowed. And exit the runway when able. Once you've exited the runway, you can now raise the flaps, turn off the landing lights, start the AP for the gates, make her over to the gate to allow passengers to embark. And there you have it, a more than acceptable landing in the Aerosoft CRJ. Now, I'm not going to say I pretend to be an expert when obviously I do make a few small errors myself, which I'm sure other people have spotted and rectified themselves, but as always the purpose of these tutorials is to help people with the very early basics in doing things for the very first time, and as always in time, as they fly more, as they learn more systems, read manuals and look at other online tutorials, you will get better. You'll learn more systems, you'll get better with how the aircraft works, and even myself, the more I fly, the better I'll get, and the more I can showcase in future streams. But I do hope that the tutorial has helped you in making your first landing in the Aerosoft CRJ. If you did find the video helpful, then please leave a like, and do subscribe too, as this helps the channel out. Once again, I'd love to say a massive thank you to everyone for all the support you've shown me recently, as without you guys, I'd certainly not be here doing these tutorials, doing these videos, and certainly enjoying myself online in this very different time. But as always, I thank you all for watching. I wish you all many virtual happy hours, and I wish to see you again in the very near future. You take care of yourselves, enjoy the aeroplane, and I shall see you again in the very near future. Take care, and goodbye.